All right, guys, we got some big news this morning surrounding the New York Knicks. So, a report came out that the Knicks have had convos with teams on trading Bacom Diadier. And then another one says that the Knicks are leaning towards keeping two veterans, with Shamit and Brogdon leading the way. If you guys have been following my channel, I've mentioned this the past week, saying that those two guys are basically locks to make the roster. In order to make that happen, they're going to have to trade either Tyler Kolek, Deuce McBride, or Bacom Diadier. I don't see a world where they trade Deuce, which leaves Kolek and Diadier. The issue with Kolek is he's like, what, 24 at this point, kind of undersized, not the best defender. Diadier is 20 years old, 6'7", plays good defense, has a ton of potential. He's a first-round pick out of France. So the Knicks, with that information, of course they're going to shop him. They're going to try to get the most that they can versus just trade Kolek and get nothing, literally. It's a little bit disappointing because I like Dottie. I think he has potential, and even though he's still very, very raw, his defense alone makes him playable. We also know he can rebound the ball. Like Dottie, honestly, probably should be a part of the rotation. He won't be. I mean, he might not even be on the team. That's kind of where we're at. Is in order to make sure the Knicks don't go over the second apron, they got to trade one of those guys to keep Shamit and Brogdon. And those two players, they had a lot of opportunities elsewhere, and they chose the Knicks. And they chose the Knicks because they knew they'd make the team. But losing Dadier is disappointing because I know I talk about this all the time, but with Deuce and Mitchell Robinson, those homegrown talents and players that stay around for a while are always the most memorable for me because I see them get drafted. I see them go to the summer league, and then I see them in training camp and see them grow. I mean, remember Mitch when he was just like a skinny 7 foot guy in the summer league dominating, and then Deuce McBride. At one point, honestly, had no offensive game to speak of. He was just a good defender, and now he's legitimately one of the best bench pieces in basketball and one of the most team friendly contracts. Deuce is an absolute marksman from three, which again, if you saw him when he first was drafted, he was far from that. He was actually like even almost unplayable because he couldn't do anything on offense. He couldn't stretch the floor, things like that. It's just awesome, man. I love that. But you look at the overall outlook of the Knicks, and by the way, we do end up playing tomorrow in the Middle East. It's a 12 p.m. game, which is just a crazy to think about, but that's kind of the reality of professional sports now is you have teams playing in the Middle East in Brazil to try to expand the game. I think I'm going to make a separate video talking about my thoughts on Josh Hart probably starting because there's been a lot of rumors going around that Mitch is going to start, but Josh Hart was spotted with the starters today at practice, which you'd have to imagine he's probably starting. I mean, obviously tomorrow we'll kind of know the rotations and we'll know the lineup or at least what the Knicks plan to debut. But in terms of the rotation, let's just hypothetically trade Bacom Dadier. So Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet make the roster. So the bench is going to look like this. So Brogdon is going to run the offense off the bench. Let me get my notes up, actually. It's just way easier if I write this down. Okay, so Brogdon is going to be the point guard off the bench. And then the two guard is going to be Deuce McBride. A lot of people just discredit Deuce. Like, not to say that they don't like him necessarily, but like with Clarkson and Brogdon, everyone kind of forgets that. Like, no, Deuce is certainly going to play a big role. This leaves Clarkson as the backup three, which I don't even understand whatsoever in the slightest, because you have Shamit who has to play there, but also like Clarkson should be more on the ball. That's kind of why you brought him in, is to score. So putting him at the three, like, I don't really understand that. Maybe Mike Brad will have a different opinion and he'll kind of do this differently, but that's the first three. And then Mitchell Robinson and Yabusele. So Gershon is going to be the four. He's 6'8", so that makes sense. I don't really like him playing the small five. And then that leaves Mitchell Robinson. I mean, this isn't terrible. If you actually start Mitch and you use Hart, well, then Gershon has to play the five and then Hart at the four. Ariel Porty is another name that I know a lot of Knicks fans would like to see play. I just don't know if he's going to be a part of the rotation unless there's an injury. The Knicks also could carry another center, like an Alex Len, for example. I know Trey Jemison's also trying to make the roster. I don't like the bench. There's a lot of talent on it, don't get me wrong. I just don't like the way it's structured, and that's my biggest thing, of course, with putting Deuce on the bench, because hear me out. If you start Deuce over Hart, well, all of a sudden you've got way more spacing and you can run five out with Cap. The only thing I don't like with Hart off of the bench with Mitch is that the spacing would be horrendous. There'd be no shooting whatsoever. Yabusele is an above average shooter. We know that Malcolm Brogdon, Clarkson can shoot the ball. Well, Clarkson's not really known for his efficiency. He's kind of like a high volume shooter. I don't know if J.R. Smith's really. I mean, J.R. Smith's kind of a good example. I mean, remember how good he was for us back in when he won Sixth Man of the Year in 2012, 2013. But in terms of just Brogdon and Shamit overall, I'd like to see both of them play every single night, and I want the Knicks to expand their rotation because, especially given there's no Halliburton and Tatum, and the East is as wide open as it probably will ever be in the Brunson, Cat era. You got to take full advantage and just play guys as well. Because let's say there's an injury, and I'm just going to use a random guy's example, like Kevin McCullough. Let's say that Kevin McCullough has to step in because of an injury. Well, he hasn't been playing. He's just on the end of the bench, not getting reps, not getting work. That's why I'd rather just play guys. Because like the Pacers, for example, they would run 12, 13 guys deep into the rotation, and they'd always be ready because they played every single night. And the Knicks just couldn't keep up with that. I think this roster truly is super talented. It's not even just the first 10 guys. Even outside of that, like Landry Shamit's not in the top 10. Kevin McCullough, Ariel Hukporty, and Trey Jefferson's not going to make it. But, I mean, there's Tyler Kolek is going to be on the roster. There's just so much talent, and I like to see them go out there and just play. I mean, why not develop guys? Because the issue with not playing players, especially the younger ones, is if they're in the G League, then they're playing every single night and they're developing and getting work like constantly. But if they're just on the bench, how exactly are they improving? I mean, the best way to improve in professional sports is to obviously play. Right. I mean, if you're football and you're a rookie quarterback, I mean, yeah, you kind of want to sit the first year under a veteran quarterback, but it's not really like that for basketball. You need to be on the court and getting reps. And because the Knicks have so much talent and they've got Mike Brown, that's only going to elevate the play of some of these guys and get the best out of them. So let me know your thoughts, honestly, on everything that I've said. I love the fact that the Knicks are carrying more veterans, and honestly, I thought they would coming into the season. I thought they'd kind of stay young a little bit. It's just the fact of how exactly does this roster mesh together? I don't think it does. Like I look at Josh Hart, and to me, he holds the starting lineup back more than he helps them, just because he can't shoot. Like Josh Hart is a very niche type of player. I think he's best off the bench of pushing the pace and doing a lot of little things and handling the ball. But when he's in the starting five, teams are going to scheme up the Knicks to force him to shoot. They're going to be able to double Cat and double Brunson because whoever's guarding Josh Hart, they're like, hey, we'll live with that. I mean, would you rather Brunson or Cat trying to do something, or would you rather Josh Hart shoot up a three? So, and Hart also has a finger, of course, that he had surgery on, but then he re-aggravated it, and that makes it even worse. So if you thought Josh Hart was shooting poorly last season, imagine this season. It's going to be even crazier. I mean, why exactly go out there and bring in Brogdon and Clarkson and like Shaman if they're not even going to have a plan for them, right? So, again, this will be clarified tomorrow. I mean, maybe I'll eat my words and look like a huge idiot if the Knicks have this figured out. But I just find it very, very hard to believe that they will. I think tomorrow's going to be extremely discombobulated, and it's the preseason. If there's a time to be discombobulated, it certainly is then. But we're also, 2 weeks away? I think we're like literally 2 weeks away from the start of the season. When's our first game? October 22nd. So 3 weeks away, my bad. 3 weeks away from taking on the Cavs and opening night at MSG. So, I mean, 3 weeks is probably, and not to mention they've already been doing it in training camp. That's probably enough time to have this figured out. I just would like to see the Knicks go into the first game tomorrow and have their rotations, have their starting five, and have the bench figured out. And obviously, we'll get to see pretty much everyone play. They're not going to play Jalen Brunson 35 minutes in a preseason game. I mean, Brunson's probably going to play like 2 quarters, maybe even if that. But yeah, guys, it's your boy, Knicks Daily. I'm signing out. Let me know your thoughts in the video. And until next time, my friends, peace.